Hello, everybody. I just have a bit of silence, if you don't mind, for our presenters. I want to welcome everyone to the SSA's Getting Started in Self-Storage workshop. It's great to see so many of you in this session, which really highlights how much interest there is and the increasing interest in this amazing industry. So thank you for coming. By way of introduction, I'd like to introduce you to myself. For those who don't know me, who haven't met me yet, my name is Michael Alafaci. I'm the chairman of your board, of your Self-Storage Association, and it's also my 20th year in the industry. I sit on the executive at Storage King. I've seen growth in the industry from both an operator perspective and an association perspective, and it's quite amazing to see how much of that growth has come in more recent years. So today you'll hear from some highly knowledgeable and highly experienced industry participants on what's important and to consider, and maybe even some tips and hints on how to navigate setting out in the industry. Then at the end, time permitting, we'll have a bit of a Q&A session. But don't worry if you don't get a chance to ask a question or don't have time. Please feel free to visit our exhibitors either at their stand or throughout the convention, where I'm sure they'll be happy to field any questions or have any more in-depth discussions with them. So without further ado, I'd like to hand you over to our first presenter to talk to you about feasibility. So please put your hands together from Four Leaves Property, Mr. Max Mahoney.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, everyone. My name is Max Mahoney, and I work at Four Leaves Property as a senior valuer and consultant. At Four Leaves Property, we are licensed real estate agents, certified valuers, and trusted advisors, focused on the self-storage asset class across Australia and New Zealand. Today, I'll be focusing on the feasibility studies that we provide and how important it is to do your due diligence and research on a new site. Like every other asset class, research is needed to understand whether development will be feasible. Four Leaves Property was founded and led by Linda Sharkey, our managing director. With Linda's expertise, we've built strong relationships across the self-storage industry and the wider property market, ensuring that we strategically position to handle both advisory and the sale process of assets. We proudly support all major self-storage operators and the association across Australia and New Zealand. Our team provides comprehensive guidance at every stage of the development process, from conducting feasibility studies and valuations for both existing and proposed facilities to the advising on the sale of self-storage assets. We're committed to delivering tailored expert insights to support our clients' goals. Today, I'll be touching on understanding of feasibility and the common mistakes that new entrants generally make in the self-storage market. Self-storage is very similar to retail in that when developers and owners need to understand the surrounding catchment in detail and the demographics that shape the catchment. Understanding the custom catchment. Key demographic analysis means understanding the people that are located within your catchment, which is extremely important. We utilize ABS and census data that provides us the indication of the median household income, employment data, population growth, average age, movability data, and even divorce rates. All of these are drivers of self-storage. Each catchment is different, and the demographics will provide information on the level of demand for self-storage in the catchment. I will talk more about this later in the presentation. Self-storage supply. We at Four Leaves Property actively track the self-storage supply across Australia and New Zealand. This involves tracking all of the existing supply and all of the proposed future supply. We generally compare the supply of a catchment against another to get an idea if there might be an oversupply of self-storage units. The knowledge of the proposed self-storage supply in the market also allows us to understand the estimated timing of completion and the scale of new competing facilities, which impacts upon the total self-storage supply within a catchment. Achievable operating metrics. Understanding the operating metrics of competing facilities is very important, and it provides you an indication of what revenue, expenses, and unit mix you'd expect in a catchment. This involves occupancy rates, storage fee rates, concessions, and allowances data. For example, if you know that surrounding facilities are currently operating at very high occupancy of 95 to 100%, this will provide an indication that self-storage demand in the catchment is high and could mean a faster occupancy build-up stage or a higher mature occupancy level for the subject. I believe that understanding the operating metrics is the most important out of the research that we complete, as it provides an indication of what net profit the facility is expected to earn. In terms of revenue, Four Leaves can provide you with average storage fee rate and occupancy rates that you can expect to achieve. We generally are able to provide a range, as this information is based on confidential trading data that we are unable to disclose. Understanding the customer catchment. A general rule of thumb that we use is that our customers are likely to reside within a 15-minute drive time of their chosen facility. You can see this outlined in the map shown on the board. We can also overlay this with a 5 to 7 kilometer radius, depending on where the site is located. The drive time and radius can vary. However, using the example of Homebush here, you'd expect customers to drive 10 to 15 minutes in order to get to their facility, which works out to be around a 5 kilometer radius. I highlight that you may attract customers from outside of this area, but for various reasons, however, your core customer base is most likely to reside in this catchment. Remember, at its core, storage is a product of convenience. In breaking the demographic analysis down a bit further, the 4 key areas that we like to drill into are population. So looking at the existing population, the future population growth, the type of population that's coming into the area, we look at housing status, migrant population, and we look at who's renting and who's buying, and how often people are moving. Census data and ABS population projections provide us with excellent sources to help us understand the population of a catchment. Areas that are more densely populated are likely to attract a high demand for self-storage. We also like to look into population growth forecasts in the area to understand what the population is likely to be in, say, 5 years' time. Housing status. Understanding the makeup of the housing status for the catchment is another element that we look into. We're seeing a rise in homeowners using self-storage, and we attribute this to smaller housing or downsizing. Dwelling type. Our experience has found that areas with high proportions of flat, unit, and apartment dwellers generally have a higher demands of the self-storage demand, as this is likely to increase per capita demand for self-storage. Household income. Findings from the State of the Industry research found that greater levels of self-storage use is associated with high income earners. Customer catchments that have higher than average household income are likely to have higher amounts of discretionary spend and increased levels of self-storage demand. It also allows for stronger fee rates, which increases achievable revenue. Fringe markets that may appear to have weak demographics fundamentals shouldn't be disregarded, as they might eventually have a great potential for self-storage demand in the future. Understanding that self-storage investment is a long-term play is crucial in recognizing where opportunities may present themselves in the market. All of the self-storage fundamentals ensure that the project is viable and will be delivered and received by the catchment successfully. Competition maps. This is a competition map that we create for our clients, which also depicts the customer catchment and all of the existing and proposed facilities within the area. This will give you a clear indication of the size of the existing supply in the catchment and any proposed facilities that will impact upon the performance of your facility. You will generally find when 2 facilities are both in occupancy build-up stages, they compete for the same customers, and therefore the storage fee rates will be heavily discounted to try and win customers. You can see this in this example. There are 3 proposed facilities within the catchment. Knowing the details of these 3 facilities is key in ensuring that your development will succeed. We're able to generally provide the size and scale of each of the facilities and usually some plans that will indicate the design of the facility. We utilize Cordell and local council websites to track the size and estimated completion of each of the proposed sites across Australia and New Zealand. Some of these new large facilities being constructed can be in excess of 1,000 units, which will significantly impact the rate of supply per capita in the catchment. If you were looking at developing within the same catchment, you might see a healthy catchment all of a sudden be oversupplied with excess self-storage units. If we use a retail shopping centre as an example, you wouldn't build a shopping centre right next to another unless you knew there was a demand for it in the catchment. The final step to the feasibility puzzle is forecasting the operational performance of a facility. At 4Leafs, we're in a position where, through research and valuation work, we have a strong understanding of trading performance of existing self-storage facilities across Australia and New Zealand. Whilst we never disclose individual trading information to protect our clients' information, we can provide forecasting for what we'd expect the gross revenue levels to be. In addition, we take this next step and include benchmark operating expenses to provide a forecast net operating income amount for a proposed facility. Finally, forecast an expected occupancy build-up rates and revenue stabilisation period. We do this by benchmarking previous build-up rates of other facilities in the area. We'll also factor in the demographic profile that we discussed earlier, honing in on population forecasts for the area, and overlay with the existing proposed level of supply in the catchment. Common pitfalls. Before I wrap up, I just want to quickly touch on some of the most common pitfalls and mistakes that we see from new entrants entering the market. Initial discounting. Most new facilities discount to attract customers and build occupancy quickly. However, knowing when to stop discounting is crucial. Depending on the size of the facility, it can take an average of 3 to 5 years to fill and reach what would be considered a stabilized level of revenue. A big mistake that we see is operators is discounting market rental rates too heavily at the beginning of trade up in order to build occupancy quickly and not removing these discounts fast enough once occupancy starts to build. Discounts in the order of 15 to 25% from what we'd regard as a market rate is common. However, it is important that these discounts are not maintained for extended periods. The common trap is discounting for too long and filling too quickly, which makes it extremely difficult to ever reach the market average storage fee rate across the facility. The other consideration to make in relation to discounting is understanding that there is almost always a discount given to the advertised or rack rate to what is ultimately achieved. This is something to keep in mind if you're trying to compare yourself to other competitors. Getting your unit mix right. Understanding the optimal unit mix is another critical piece of the feasibility puzzle. Taking the time to know what unit types have the greatest level of demand in the catchment area will contribute to achieving optimum revenue levels. Every market is slightly different in terms of what will be demanded from customers. However, it is important. Simple form benchmarking occupied unit sizes of competing facilities in the catchment area provides a great starting point in understanding where the demand lies in the catchment. Management practices. Another key factor to consider is the management of the facility. As an owner, you can decide to either manage the facility yourself or engage an existing self-storage manager. We are lucky that our industry offers various well-established management companies that have extended track records and experience in managing self-storage facilities. The benefit to engaging with an established manager is the ability to leverage their established brand and expertise in operating self-storage facilities. As I mentioned, understanding the constant changes in prices, how to manage this, and how to achieve an optimal level of revenue will determine if a self-storage development is feasible. I hope this presentation has stressed how critical it is to conduct thorough research and analysis before embarking on a self-storage project. By understanding the unique demographic, supply, and competitive factors within a catchment, you're not just planning a facility, you're setting the foundation for a successful investment. Remember, self-storage is a long-term commitment, and every piece of research contributes to a project and that meets market demand, achieves optimal revenue, and stands resilient in a competitive landscape. For Lease Property can help guide through every phase of your self-storage research from feasibility to sale. Linda and myself will be around the conference, so feel free to please reach out and ask some questions. Thank you.